Hello and welcome. This is Tyler Green, the Education and Community Programs Manager here at Highpoint Center for Printmaking. I'm going to give you an overview of relief printmaking. First, let's check out our supplies. We've got a classic pencil, paper for doing our sketch. We've got a block, that's what we're going to carve later and make our image happen in. It's kind of this eraser rubber type material. We've also got a wooden spatula. This is going to come in handy to get our image onto our block. We've got a carving tool. I'll show you a couple more of these a little bit later on. Notice that shape, that's really important at the end there. We've also got our ink. We're using a relief ink, different than paint. It's tackier. This is a really nice ink. We've got our palette knife. This is what we're using to mix our colors with. And we've got our brayer. It's our special roller used for printmaking. Let's start off with a sketch. So you can do your picture, your print, either horizontal, or you can flip it and do it vertical. Okay, I'm going to do mine horizontal or landscape. For sketching, I'd recommend starting light and building up darkly from there. Okay, this is not our final thing. Our final image or final artwork is the carving and the print we make from it. Once you have your sketch figured out, make all the lines you want to show up in your block nice and dark. So notice I'm putting a little bit more pressure down and getting those nice and dark. I've got a fun little cat for today. Okay, now we're going to transfer our drawing onto our block. So putting our drawing face down on the block. I don't know why I was turning things around there. Brush it off a little bit and we'll put our drawing face down on the block. We're going to try to get those drawn lines to press into our block. Okay, I got things all lined up. Once I start pressing, I want to make sure things don't move at all. Okay, so I'm really holding that firm. I'm going to hold one side really firm and use a wooden spatula to press down and move along my paper. I'm moving away from my hand. See how it's curling like that? That's a good thing. You can start to see the picture showing up. Okay, I can go little circles, really making sure it's not moving. This is something we can help you with. No problem. I'm going to very carefully switch to the other hand and press down, going the other way. And there we go. We've got our cat on the block. Cool. Something to note here, these are facing the opposite way. That's a good thing. When we print again, it's going to flip it again. So we're flipping it onto the block and then onto our print. That'll make sense in a little bit here. You can, if things don't transfer all the way, you can draw on the block a little bit. Do this lightly. If there's some little details you really want to show up, go into it a little bit more. That's about good for that. Oh, I did go into it a little bit more. Okay, let's get into the carving tools. We've got 3 different sizes. This is kind of the medium size. This is a big wide size for clearing things out, and the teeny tiny one for little details. I'll show you how to use all of these. I'm going to start with the mid-size one. Okay, here we go. We're carving. We're keeping, so notice that was a V-shaped tool. We want to keep the top 2 points of that V above the block. We're just skimming the surface, okay? Going back and forth. I'm kind of making this textured line to make sure it looks like it's fuzzy, that it's a cat. Okay, if you're doing something that doesn't have a fuzzy line, you could do something straight. It's really up to what your picture is. Once I'm done carving, I'll peel that off. You can see how that's gouged into there. Wherever we carve is going to be the color of the paper when we print later on. Okay, now I'm going to speed things up and keep carving. I'm being really careful. These are knives, right? So I'm going to be very careful when carving away from my hand and being very careful about that. Getting all those little details in there. Notice how I'm turning the block too. That can be really helpful to get the right angle. I'm using this tiny tool to get these little teeth in there. Okay, that's the hardest tool to use. It's very, very shallow. And I'm going to clear out those teeth a little bit more to help highlight them. Okay, now I'm going to start getting into some details. I'm going to add some stuff I didn't have in the drawing. So I decided it's a cat. I want it to have a lot of texture like a cat does. It's got a lot of fur on it. So I've got these repeating lines. Relief is really great at doing these patterns and little details like this. I also wanted to do a little bit of a background just for style. And I'm using that wide tool to clear out an area. Again, anything I clear out, all those lines I'm carving is going to be white. There might be some kind of lines, see how I'm doing lines next to each other? There might be some kind of ridges that still show up when we print. And that can be kind of cool. There we go. It's looking good. Okay, now for inking up our plate. We've got our block, our carved block, our ink, our palette knife, our brayer. We're going to take out the ink from the tube. We're going to be printing on these glass top tables in the studio here. We'll put out some ink, wipe off the end, and I'm putting that cap right back on. We always want to save our caps, and we'll mix up that color a little bit. I'm just going to show black and white for this video. But we're smearing that out. We're making here, once I've mixed it up, what's called a well. And we're going to use our brayer to roll in that well and make a really nice, thin, even layer of ink. Now this is going to make a nice hissing sound as we're going, and it's also going to get this nice kind of sandpapery texture. Okay, I'll show that in a second. See that? See that sparkle on there? That's what you're looking for. If you're seeing streaks, you've got too much. If you're not seeing anything, maybe too little. Okay, let's start to roll on there. This part's really fun. All right, we're starting to see that cat. Okay, now I'm going to speed it up and we're going to ink this up. I'm going in different directions, evening out this, evening out my print, evening out my block, making sure every part's got the ink I want. Again, I'm just showing black. You can do all sorts of different colors and combinations, but we're just doing a simple one for today. Okay, I've got that all evened out. See how that's got that sandpaper texture, that same sparkle over the whole thing? It's looking really good. We're ready to print. We're going to be printing on a mulberry type paper. Okay, we'll line that up. Press down first with our hand. We should start to see it, especially if we've got high contrast like black and white. We're going to use it called a baron and press down a little bit. Okay, nice light pressure to start with. We're going to peel it back and see how it's looking. Okay, it's looking all right. Let's keep going. I'm going to switch to a wooden spatula, the same thing we used to transfer our drawing earlier. Putting pressure over the whole thing. There we go, that's looking nice. All right, our first print. Looks pretty good. A good first one. We can keep inking up, keep printing, and really get it to where we want it as we go. We can also do what's called a ghost print. So there's still some ink on there. I'm going to put another piece of paper down and print again, and we'll get a lighter version of what we got before. Ooh, I like that one. Ghost cat. Okay, so we can print as many really as we have time for in this class. Once we're done, we'll clean up. So I'll go over clean up real quick. There's some nice tips that'll be helpful for you to know in here. First, we'll roll off our brayer on a piece of newsprint, getting most of that ink off of there. We'll scrape up all the ink that we have. If it's the middle of class, we could save it. If we're done, we're going to scrape it up and put it on that same newsprint. Just wipe it on there. We can fold that over once we're done with it. Then we're going to grab a rag, a nice damp rag. It's got a little water in it. We can wipe off our palette knife and the handle, of course. And we can use that same one, but I'm going to switch to a clean spot on the rag and wipe it up. This is why we use these glass tables. It's really easy to see the ink, and they're very easy to clean. I'm going to switch again to a clean spot and tidy that up the rest of the way. Awesome. That looks good. Now over to the sink. We are gonna clean our brayer. Soap first, no water. To start here, we're just gonna work that soap right into our roller here. So I'm gonna go side to side. You can use your thumb to kind of hold it in place. So I'm going side to side. You should see it start to streak. I'm gonna speed it up a little bit here. We'll see the whole thing all streaky. That looks good. The soap's mixed into all of it. Now we can rinse it off. We should see it come off pretty easy. If we've got a little bit of smudging there, we can move to a soapy spot on our rag and scrub it up the rest of the way, rinse it off. Perfect. We'll do the same thing with our blocks. We can put soap right on there, scrub it, make sure to scrub all sides, rinse it off, and put it in the drying rack. There we go. Okay, that's relief printmaking. You can see how things are flipping around. So we've got our drawing to our block to our print. Thanks so much for joining me. All right, bye.